I think right now would be a perfect time to share that this podcast is officially sponsored. And this week's episode is brought to you by Juliana Barbati Consulting. Juliana is an expert in podcast SEO. She's worked with so many different podcasts and helped shows grow, helped shows get more eyes, helped shows get more ears, helped shows, get more followers. And I am honored to be working with her and have her team backing the podcast. So I'm very excited that they are the first advertiser to join the Round 2 podcast, first of many. So thank you, Juliana. And if you are looking for any sort of services to help your podcast grow, feel free to reach out to her. Her contact information is in the show notes. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Round 2 podcast. I am your host, Nikki Corbett, and my guest today is a fellow, I would say, digital nomad, world traveler. Welcome, Salvatore Manzi, to the Round 2 podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's awesome to have you. So where in the world are you today?
Today I'm in Discovery Bay, which is just east of the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. A little further east than I was anticipating, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, I bet it'll be nice and relaxing out there. How's the weather?
I won't lie. I was just in the Redwoods at Jenner, close to the ocean. I don't know if you've taken Santa Rosa out to the ocean. I was in the Redwoods and I was telling my dad, I'm tired of being cold. I was wearing long johns. I had wool socks on, 2 layers. And then I drove here and it was 90 degrees. And I was like, okay, get what you asked for.
Hello. Yeah.
I don't know.
Although, is it going to cool down a bit over the next few days? Because yesterday here, I'm in Sacramento right now, and it was about 80. And I was looking at the weather before we hopped on, and it's going to be like 60s and 50s next week. So
I'm good with this. Good with it. I am the Goldilocks of weather. I lived in Palm Springs for 3 years, so I endured weeks of 120.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I've done that now. And I've lived in the cold parts of Kansas, and I've been in the sub degrees. I like that 65 to 75 range.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, then I bet you'll probably be good down there. That sounds about right. Awesome. So let's just chit chat. So tell me a little bit about you. Where are you originally from?
Yeah, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. With a name like Salvatore, people ask me, how did you?
Yeah.
My dad was from New Jersey, came to Kansas to go to school, met my mom, and then they had kids and named me after him. That's a long story. I won't go into it. But I grew up in Kansas. And after I went to college, I ended up at the International Dormitory, which was 1,000 people strong and had people from all over the world. And my mind was blown. This little boy from Kansas, wait, there's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
And that just created an itch that I continue to scratch as a digital nomad now for a long time. I immediately went from Kansas to New Zealand because it was technically the furthest place on the planet from Kansas. I thought, was and that just sparked a whole nomad adventure in my life.
Oh my gosh, how exciting! How long were you in New Zealand for?
I was there for 6 months. My visa ran out. I had a full intention to move there. I'm done with America. I'm moving to a new country. But I found that as I left America, I was in search of Nirvana. I was at the Avalon. I don't know. I was looking for that place where I would feel like I belonged because I didn't feel like I fit. I was a square peg in a round hole in Kansas. So I was like, my place has got to be out there. And got to New Zealand and realized, wait, it's just more of me. It took a long time for me to realize I need to do the inner work to adjust to what's happening out here.
Yeah.
So I was there for 6 months and then carried on to Thailand, all over Europe, back to America. It's been quite the path, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With you as well, I know.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's so exciting. It's funny that you bring up visas because I was actually having a conversation the other night with some fellow travelers, and we were talking about this man was going to pick up a sailboat that he had purchased that was off the coast of France.
Okay.
And he was talking about what he was planning on doing. And then he was saying how from a visa perspective, and we were talking about like different types of visas and like the different rules and different parts, and how like in the Schengen area of Europe, even if you like leave for a few days days, it doesn't like reset your time clock. It just kind of extends it because it's on a rolling 180 days. And so we had this whole, and we're looking at maps and we're Googling like which countries are now just added to Schengen, what still is out. Like, I don't know. It was funny.
Yeah. I got a visa to teach English in Italy.
Oh, cool.
And I moved to Milan to do that. And I didn't understand the whole process at the time, but it is so complicated. And what they did, this is probably, I hope I don't get in trouble here. They technically made me a student of the school as even though I was teaching English. And so like teaching was my, like a part of my apprenticeship. And being a student of the school. So it got me a student visa for a full year.
Oh, nice.
They took me down to the Capinieri and I had me in they like fingerprint you and stuff. I mean, they took me to a dungeon with no lights and like walls from the 1800s. And they're like, fingerprint here. And like, they give you like a little bit of soap to wash off. And I'm like, this is where I die. This is where
right. You're but, like, this is the room that is the last room that I will ever see. Awesome.
Not the first time I've had that experience. That first time, I don't know about you. First time for me was when I landed in Bangkok. 1:00 in the morning.
Why is that? It's so many flights. Like that's where when you land and you're like, okay, we're here. Like now we go to the hotel at 2 a.m. Great.
And nothing makes sense. Like it's all in, like, there's nothing written in English. And I'm like, I found a brochure that had hostel on it and I showed it to the person at the door and they pointed out the door and I ended up in like a midnight flea market. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Right. And I finally got on one of the buses. I pointed at the thing and they dropped me off at a main plaza and I got on a tut-tut, you know, like the little, this guy, like he started like off on this tut-tut and 30 minutes later of going all through around the back channels of Bangkok, he finally stops at this little alley, he points down the alley and I'm like, this is for sure where I die.
Right.
You know? And then I walk down and then I see it matches the brochure. They actually took it. I just happened to pick the furthest
one possible
from the center of Bangkok.
Oh my God.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, it's funny that you bring up that. So I went to India. I've only been to India one time and I went and I was part of like a group tour and my flight was landing at like 3:00 in the morning or just something insane. Right. And so the tour company, they had asked me, they said, oh, did you get a hotel for when you land? And I said, well, no, because we're checking into the hotel that we're staying at like in that morning. I said, so I just figured I would get there and ask them if I could access my room early or, you know, worst case, I'll just like hang out in the lobby. Cause I'm sitting here like assuming it's like a Marriott or something that we're staying in Delhi, which is like a major city in India. So I get there and I quickly realize like, oh, this is absolutely not a Marriott. It was like very small and it was very dark. And thankfully my taxi driver got up and like, you know, knocked on the door because it was locked. And then the lights flick on and there's like 3 guys that pop up from the floor where they had been sleeping.
Oh my God.
Who apparently like work at the hotel. And I'm just like, oh my God, where am I and what is happening? Thankfully, though, they did let me into the room early. So I was able to like freshen up and try to take a nap. And then the rest of the group started arriving a few hours later. But I was just like, oh, this isn't really a lobby that you would just like hang out in for a few hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we should write a book called Midnight Arrivals.
Seriously, right?
Because when I did land at that youth hostel, like the woman opened the room and then she pointed upstairs and gave me a key. I had to climb a ladder up to the second floor.
A ladder?
Not stairs, a ladder.
Okay,
up
you
to
win.
The second floor. And then I'm like, okay, where's the restroom? So I climbed back down the ladder, started wandering around. And I was very naive. And I found this little, like a room that looked like a restroom, but it just had a hole in the ground. And I'm like, oh, that's it. And I just went up to my room and I'm like, it's okay. In the morning, I'll just go back to the airport. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Hold it until then. But it came down in the morning and found a whole bunch of other youth like travelers and also like an 8-foot boa constrictor, which was like the mascot of the hotel, which was another surprise. But anyway, those little adventures. I love that you brought up Marriott. It's like it's easy to get like tuned into a specific hotel. I was a tour director for about 10 years on and off. And as a tour director, I live in hotel. And I came to like, if it wasn't the Marriott, like I didn't know where I was. Like I knew like once I got to there, I knew where stuff was. I knew the layout. It was good, right? But it's not that same one. It's like, whoa, what happened?
Isn't it funny? So I am like a, long-term like Marriott gal. When I was at Intel, that was the hotel chain that we, were always staying at. So I've built up quite a great status there. And so I always default to there because I still have a Marriott credit card. So I'm always racking up points and all the things. So when I was in the UK in January, I ended up having to, I wasn't on my itinerary. I ended up in Bristol for a couple of nights. And when I got there and realized that the connecting flight that I was supposed to be on had already taken off because my prior flight had been so delayed, I just immediately went to the Marriott app and looked, and I found, okay, like this one looks nice. It looks like it's a good area. And what was so funny, and I remember saying this to a couple of my friends, like, because it was like a Marriott proper, like not like a JW or a Moxie or one of the million other brands that they have underneath their umbrella these days. It was a Marriott proper. It was so comforting, even though I had never been there before. But like, I just felt like everything smelled the same and like everything felt the same. And like the sheets were great. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm home.
Yeah. When I lived in Milan, my friend told me like everybody loves McDonald's. They love the ice cream. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is
kidding,
Milan.
Right?
Why would people go there for that? And I get it though. There's something about the consistency of it. There's something about knowing that I'm going to get there and I'm going to get like Starbucks. I don't care where I go. I'm always going to get that same coffee wherever I go. Well, I don't want to go off on a coffee tangent. I feel like I've gone off on enough tangents.
Oh my God. I could go off on a coffee tangent all day long. Like, well, I pissed off a lot of Austrians on TikTok when I was in Austria because I had made a video about an encounter that I had had at my hotel, which I found endearing, right? I had gone down to the restaurant in the hotel and I had asked for an Americano. So the girl made it. And the biggest cup they had was like the equivalent of like a Starbucks tall, which, I would prefer like a venti in the morning. So she put in the espresso and then she filled it with the hot water. And there was still like a good inch gap. And I was like, can you fill it to like the top? I would love it if you would just fill it to the top with water. And she was like, oh, okay. And so I was like, I'm American and most of us drink filtered coffee in the morning and I make it at home. So I make quite a bit. I'm like, I probably usually have like the equivalent of about 3 of those. And she was like, oh my gosh. And so I made just like a little TikTok and I didn't say Austrians. I said Europeans, but I said that I was in Austria. So man, did it get to a lot of pissed off people about all you Americans just categorize all of us Europeans as one and blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. All I wanted was just a bigger coffee.
Cultural faux pas are so easy.
My gosh.
It's easy to trip over these wires. It really
Especially with like something as innocuous as just a cup of coffee, it's like
but people take offense. I'm really going tangents here. The coffee, people like in Italy, you can't get a cappuccino in the afternoon. People will look at you like, what's wrong with you, right?
And I love a cappuccino and I've ordered it many of times in Italy in the afternoon.
Is wrong.
I know.
It's like, okay, we can't have milk in that coffee.
I'm like, I'm so sorry, but it's my favorite.
People have to. I was in Nice and I found the most incredible gnocchi with pesto. And, they're bringing me on an appetizer size, like, it's like 5 or 6 pieces of gnocchi. And I'm like, okay, I'll have another. And then I was like, can I have another? And they're like, we'll give you half an order. So the third one, I got half an order. I said, can I have one more half an order? They're like, no, it's too much. It's too much. You can't have that much gnocchi. And I'm like, what? I want my gnocchi.
Like, but I want it. It's so delicious.
Yeah. I love traditions though. I love when they hold our feet to the fire about, we figured this out. You don't want to have like this much coffee or this much water with your coffee.
Right. I know it is. I mean, and I appreciate it, but I will say every time I do travel and I get back home and I can make myself the coffee that I love here, I'm like, oh, it's so good.
It's real. Coffee is real. Well, actually, coffee was part of my passion because when I was in Kansas, I worked at a coffee shop.
Oh, okay.
Unbeknownst to me, I was working with a guy who was like a world connoisseur. And for some reason, he had chosen Lawrence, Kansas to open up his little cafe.
Okay.
And he had spies from the coffee industry coming all the time.
No way.
Legit spies coming to like spy on the operation. This is before Starbucks was big, before all of that. So then it created this, like, I've got to see the world in coffee shop. Like I spent 6 months before I was even allowed to touch a coffee maker inside of this coffee shop. He was that like meticulous.
Wow. So what did you do?
I could
Just take
pour like
orders?
drip coffee. I could
Oh,
clean. I
okay.
could take the orders. I could rearrange. I could get the food ready, those kinds of things, but not allowed to touch the coffee. And
So
then I
was it
get,
more that you were just needing like to like absorb how to like learn,
yes,
like watching and learning how they made it?
right. And they have to trust
Okay.
me, right? They
Okay.
have to trust me. So I moved to New Zealand and
Okay.
I walk into a cafe called Kerouac.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm an American named Salvatore looking for a job. They were like, oh my God, Salvatore is here. And everybody in the cafe was like, yes, Salvatore is here. And I was like, what is happening right now? This is
Yeah.
insane. Well, it turns out Jack Kerouac wrote a book called On the Road about a
Okay.
traveler named Salvatore.
Oh my God, that's so
So
funny.
I walk in, Salvatore, a traveler,
Mm-hmm.
into their
Yeah.
cafe. They were like, "This is it. He's arrived!" And like, I
Oh
look, they
my.
have a whole shrine up to like Jack Kerouac over on the wall, and they're like,
Okay.
"Make the coffee." So they put me on the machine immediately. And I'm like, you want me to make the coffee like now? I can touch the machine." And
Yeah.
of course, their drink concoctions were a little bit different there. But oh man, it was so much fun. Those sort of like open moments that you don't expect out there.
Yeah. That is so neat. Okay, so you stayed in New Zealand for 6 months
Yeah.
and then you went off to Bangkok. And then how long were you in Thailand for?
Just a couple of months. I went to Koh Samui, then I traveled to Europe, and I did
Mm-hmm.
the whole youth hostel train around until I ended up at Greece with no money. And
Mm.
I took the slow boat from Italy to Greece just so that I could
Okay.
get it off my list, and
Uh-huh.
ran out of money. So I got on a plane, and on the plane back, this adorable kid, he was probably 12, 14, I don't know. He didn't know how to fill out his form. So I filled out his
Uh-huh.
form from him. Like, he's
Uh-huh.
Greek. And I was like, filled it out for him. And then when we got off the
Yeah.
plane, he says, Auntie, he helped me with the form. And she goes, you come with me. And for the next 2 weeks, I was like this boy's nanny in Upper West Side Manhattan, like making sure that he didn't get into trouble. I'm like, how did my world tour end as a
Right?
nanny on the Upper West Side in this
This is
crazy
hilarious.
apartment? It was wild. So then I just got on a Greyhound and I went back to Kansas. Of course, by that point, nobody knew where I was.
Yeah. Oh
So
my gosh. What a fun adventure. How long was it in total?
it was about 1 year. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
close to a
Okay.
year. Yeah, and then I moved to Miami Beach to open up Borders Coffee Shop. They hired me to open up
Okay.
their cafe,
Okay.
and I designed the cafe. And I don't know if you know Miami, but man, they're very opinionated about their coffees. Like,
Oh, I can
or-
imagine.
yeah, like you got to get it's a lot of sugar. Just got to put a
Oh,
lot of sugar
okay.
in it. So
Yeah.
Borders attempted with us to introduce this like more European style coffee into a
Hmm.
very Cuban culture. It was fun. It was back in the day when Borders was an independent bookstore and each
Okay.
store had its own feel and vibe.
Oh,
And then
okay.
Target, I think, bought it and they saw my cafe and then they just duplicated it 300 times across America.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was kind of freaky for the next couple of years walking into every Borders and being like, that's my cafe.
How did you get that job? Like,
At Borders?
how'd they find you? Yeah.
Well, I got a job at the Borders in Kansas when I got
Uh-huh.
back from my around the world. I got a job
Yeah.
at the Borders in Kansas, which again, this is when it was an independent book. We had 7 PhDs, like 6 master students that were employees, and me,
Hmm.
this little world traveler working in the cafe. They were
Yeah.
opening up store number 17 in Miami, and they said,
Okay.
"You want to go?" I said, "I'll go." So
Uh-huh.
I mean, Miami Vice was a very popular show. I thought this
Yeah,
is going to
yeah.
be good. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So I moved to South Beach and ended up yeah, it's another whole nother story. Ended up
Hey, well, that's what we're here to do, is to tell your story. So
up there.
wherever it goes, I'm on. I'm sat, as the
Yeah,
kids say. I'm sat. Let's
I'm
do it.
sad. I haven't heard that. I love it. It was a good adventure, but again, like after a year of running a cafe, I decided I needed new adventure, so I applied to be a
Mhm.
Kentucky tour guide.
Oh, okay.
Have you
Uh-huh.
ever been on a bus tour? Tell me your feelings.
Well, I will say that tour that I did in India, it was way too many hours on a bus.
Yeah.
And I mean, had I known that it was going to be that much time on a bus, I never would have done it. I mean, even as I was going on it, I was thinking to myself, how is this so expensive? Like, how did I pay $5,000 for this tour
Oof.
when we're on this bus? And when when you open up like your Google map and it will show you like the hotels in the general vicinity, and then it'll show you the price. And I would open up my Google map when we got to a hotel and it would say something like $23 for the night. And I'm like, if this hotel is $23 a night, how in the hell was this trip $5,000? Now, granted, food, I mean, it was all inclusive, right? There was no alcohol that was in, all the meals were included, but obviously if you wanted snacks or souvenirs or alcohol, that wasn't. But I was still like baffled. And then one of the things that we did on this tour that it is an experience I will absolutely never forget. But we took a train. We took a overnight train from Delhi to, I think it was Jodhpur, maybe. I don't know, but it was 12 hours on this train. And on the trains there, they have first class, second class, and like third class, or I don't even want to know what that possibly looks. Yeah. Literally, we were in second class.
Okay.
So my seat, which was a bed, it was like a little coffin, if you will, was on the top. So I had to climb a ladder and then like hoist myself into it. There was a blanket and a pillow. I don't know where those had been. So, and mind you, it was India. So it's not like I had packed a lot of warm clothes. I had a very light sweater, and that was the extent of anything to keep myself warm. So when we got on the train, it was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to deal. Hopefully I'll fall asleep. I'll listen to some music, wake up, maybe get a cup of coffee. Joke's on me for thinking I could do that. Then we'll get to where we're going and it'll be on to the next. So the train starts moving. The temperature in the train at the time is perfectly fine. The train starts moving and the air conditioning turns on.
Oh, no.
And there was a vent that was, I'm not exaggerating when I say it was this close to my head.
Yeah.
And if for people who are just listening, it's maybe about 3 inches from my head. And it is the ice cold air. Like, okay. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I took this gross blanket and I kind of made a little tent around, because it was really hard fabric. So it wasn't cozy in it by any means. So I made like a little tent over myself. There was another bunk next to mine where nobody was in. So I took that blanket as well to just kind of like make this like igloo for myself to be in. I mean, it was so gross. There was like people snoring that you could hear. I had to get up and use the restroom in the middle of the night. That was not fun. It was literally awful. We get there, finally get off the train around like 10:30 in the morning, and get to the hotel. I have Wi-Fi again, and I look to see. It would have been an hour plane ride.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. This sounds nightmarish.
So it was literally awful. And then one of the worst things about it was like during that time, about halfway through the trip, the man I was in a relationship with at the time, he had been on a business trip, and then he flew down to the Maldives and was staying in one of those beautiful over the water huts. And he was like, how's the trip going? I'm like, dude, it's fucking awful. And he's like, why don't you ditch it and come meet me in the Maldives? And I'm like, because the last part of the trip is like the Taj Mahal, and like I can't be in India and not see the and I mean, and like he and I are no longer together, but there's a part of me that's like, you could have been in an overwater bungalow in the fucking Maldives and you were on a bus in India. And then to add insult to injury, I got violently, deathly ill.
No.
I mean, it was just one thing after the other. But I did see the Taj Mahal.
Was like, here's an exit. Take this, this parachute.
Right. I did see the Taj Mahal at sunset. It was absolutely beautiful. I'm grateful. It was like one of my favorite memories. But yeah, there still is a little part of me that until I actually get to the Maldives and get to experience that, I'm like, you could have gone.
You could be at the Maldives. Oh, that is such a rich story. Yeah, I traveled from Bangkok down to Koh Samui. I don't know if you've been to Thailand, but
yes, I have. Yes,
I did the overnight bus with these two guys I met in the youth. We had no idea, but they overpacked the bus. There were 3 to 4 people per bus seat. So they sat, and then we sat our luggage on top, and then I sat on top of the luggage as the bus was driving, and we would shift. Like the 3 of us would shift with our luggage. But of course, it's in the middle of the night and this bus driver is playing chicken with everything on the road. So it's the whole way. And then we get there and then we did the slow boat to Koh Samui, another overnight where you're down below. It was, and then we got to Koh Samui, which I don't know if you've been. Have you been to Koh Samui?
I don't think I've been to Koh Samui, but I've been to Koh Phi Phi.
Okay.
Phuket and whatever island Railay Beach is on. I've been
Close
to
to,
those parts.
yeah, I don't know what that particular one, but I ended up in a hut on the beach, literally roll out the door onto the water. And it was like for $50 for a week. I was like,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
worth it. Like you have
Right,
to go through
right.
some of this
And now
to
you
get
have the
to that.
stories you live to tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
These make our lives a little richer or whatever.
They do. And here's what's funny too. So at the time when I did this India trip, I was working at Intel and there was 2 Indian men on my team. So they were very curious to know like what I thought of the trip when I got
Yeah.
back.
And you
So
were on
we're in a conference room and I'm telling them, and I'm telling them like the positive highlights and
good,
I
good
did,
man.
because obviously like I don't want to like, you never want to like shit on somebody's culture or something. And overall, I mean, the people were lovely, the food was great. I mean, I had a good time. It just wasn't as nice of the transit as I would have preferred.
Yeah.
But I did mention to them that we did this overnight train and that we were in second class, and they both literally their jaws like hit the table. They were like, "You went in second class?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's disgusting. Why?" And I'm like, "I don't know. That's what the tour booked us." And they were like beside themselves. It was so funny. They're like, "We would never. That sounds awful. Oh my God, we're so sorry you had to do that."
I love what they related and they understood immediately. Like,
Totally.
oh man, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I was a
Yeah.
tour director taking groups of people all across the
Mhm.
country, but it was a 23-day tour from LA all the way along the southern route to New York City.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
23 days with 50 mostly alcoholic Australians. Then we would just go from party to party to
Uh-huh.
party, from Dallas to Memphis to New Orleans. Like it was just
Wow.
23-day party bus. And I did that for a year. And because it was at the time, it was a Australian based company. So I had free
Oh, okay.
tours to go down there. So I went back to New Zealand
Oh,
and did
cool.
some tours. It changed my perspective of what tours are like. And I went on
bet.
then to work for Trafalgar, who bought Contiki, and I did the senior tours. Very different.
Oh, I bet.
Going
Yeah.
from like sitting at a table and having to deal with somebody who got arrested for whatever, and this person lost their passport, to now I'm dealing with like there's not enough pillows in the hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clientele, right?
Right, right.
But tour guide, and then I moved to the Virgin Islands, and I became a tour guide through the islands in the Caribbean as well.
Oh my God, how fun.
Just picking up people and going to one island or the next, and managing an Airbnb down there until the hurricane took all that away from us at the time. But it's a stumbling story, but I did end up eventually getting to San Francisco. We'll come back to California. Got to San Francisco, and it was like paradise. It's like I found my home, but I wasn't ready to settle down. So I went up to Guerneville. I don't know if you know Guerneville.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Sonoma County, right? I think so. Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in a coffee shop in Guerneville, and I'm like, this is really such a beautiful place in the Redwoods. This has got to be home for me. I want to stay here, but I need a job. And just then the barista and the manager got in a fight. It was really loud and raucous. And the manager turns to me and goes, "Would you like a job?" And I'm like, "Are you effing killing me?" Like, okay, well, I need a place to live. So I walked back to my friend's cabin. And right then the landlord was nailing a for rent sign on the cabin next door. I was like,
what?
Okay, how much? And he's like, 400. Like, this is back in the day. And so I went back to San Francisco, got my stuff, and I moved up to Guerneville and started working in the coffee shop and basically just doing yoga and redwoods all the time.
That's so cool.
Random, like following the...
But like how, like it was like the path like opened up for you.
Yeah, I would just follow little signs, follow the little, like what was out there. Going back to tour guiding part-time, it's contract work. So you just pick up a tour and then travel when you want to, and then not. Or I'd go and wait tables or cater waiter or whatever. Ended up moving to New York City and became one of the tour guides in New York City. And
really, man, I bet that was way different. Yeah,
like people have different. Like it's bad. Tour guides, we make stuff up. I'm not gonna lie, we make stuff up. Because I'm on a bus and I'm being asked for the 14th time, "Where does Jackie Onassis live?" And I'm like, "Right there. Yeah, that building right there." It's like, I have no idea. That's it. Or when you're in the middle of Texas and somebody, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's a surfboard factory." Like, that's what it is.
Oh my God.
I think the worst practical joke, though, is when I was taking a Contiki tour from New Mexico into Texas. And I told everybody on the bus, like, Texas has retained its right to remain an independent country whenever it wants to. And because of this, you have to show your passports when you go into the state. And they're like, what? I'm like, you have your passports, right? And they're like, yeah. And they're all like digging. I'm like, hold your passport against the wall, against the window. And as we pass through the state, you'll get a little ding. And somebody would be like, I don't have my passport. I'm like, get in the bathroom. And then we're driving up. So somebody's locked up in the bathroom, and then we pass, and somebody's like, you're joking, right?
Yeah. That is too funny.
Tour guiding is fun. I think you would especially love it because like you basically have a captured audience for 20 days or whatever, and you get to have fun in every city that you go to. It's just a little party.
I mean, I don't know. Like maybe I feel like my tolerance for other people might be reached prior to the end date of the tour though. You know, like
it's real.
Lots of people, lots of questions, lots of things that I don't know that maybe a younger version of me might have been better cut out for that. I feel like at this point I'd be like, you're just dumb. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Leave me alone. And they'd be like, you're getting a 1-star review. You're terrible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places I could go with. I had a couple, a newlywed couple gets on the tour. Day 1, they're in love. Day 5, they are at each other's throats and they had to
I bet. Yeah.
Day 15, we're in Vegas. They're back together. So I had Elvis get on the bus and remarry him. But
that's cute.
The dramas. Or I had this one senior tour where this woman, every day she would get on the bus and she would, when are we seeing the cranberry bogs? And I'm like, we're going to see the cranberry bogs on the last day.
What's a cranberry bug?
Oh, the cranberry bogs in Cape Cod. Like they're bogs that they.
Oh, bog, not bug.
Yeah, bog.
Okay, but what's that? I don't even know what that is. Okay.
They grow the cranberries in like this kind of low level valley within and then when the cranberries all come up, they flood it, and then all of the cranberries naturally rise, and then they skim the cranberries off. So it's called a cranberry bog. That's how they grow their cranberries.
Okay.
And this one person, that's all she wanted to see.
That's all she wanted to see.
14-day tour, and she had to come to me every morning. When are we seeing the cranberry bogs? And so when we got there, I had her get off
front
the
and center.
Walk down. These are the cranberry bogs.
Oh my gosh. And now that you're saying that, I feel like my mind is recalling like an Ocean Spray commercial where there's guys standing in water and cranberries are floating. So that must be the cranberry bog.
That's the cranberry bogs.
Huh. Okay. Hey, you learn something new every day.
Yeah. That was also the tour that we stayed in a hotel that didn't have TVs. People lost their minds. Have you been to Mackinac Island?
Mackinac Island. No, but I've heard of it. Where is it though?
It's like Michigan. It's like over here. And it's like the 1800s. There's no motorized vehicles on the island.
Oh,
so
dang. Okay.
Get to the island. The idea is just to be calm and relaxed. And they couldn't handle it. They needed their room. They needed their TVs and phones and all the things that they wanted to, like, you know, the things that we've become comfortable with, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Interesting. I feel like I've gone on like this world tour with you as you've been telling me all about it.
It's been incredible. It's been a fun travel journey. And I'm not done. I started being a nomad again a year ago. So
wait, hold on. We got to take a step back though, because you ended up in the Redwoods at the coffee shop in Guerneville. So did you ever end up living in San Francisco where you said it felt like
home? I did. I moved back to San Francisco. I lived there for 3 years and then I moved to LA. I had big dreams of being a writer on a TV show because somebody's friend got me a writer's assistant position. I won't mention who, but it was pretty big. How did I land that job? Like, it's just insane. Anyway, television film wasn't for me at the time. So I got up my wish list. My bucket list was to move to Italy. So I moved to Italy. I was going to ask you. So you mentioned your dad grew up in New Jersey and he's who you're named after. So was your dad a first generation Italian American? Second? Okay. Yeah. Okay. My grandfather came over on the boat as a little child. So cool. In third. And I got there and I was all excited about finding my ancestry. And I looked up Manzi in the phone book and it's like Smith. Like, so there's just millions of them. Yeah, forget it. But it was kind of fun because there was a very famous Italian named Maestro Manzi who taught English. He was like one of the first he was like Mr. Rogers of
Oh,
Italy.
cool.
And
Okay.
he taught how to speak English or how to speak Italian, like good pronunciation
Uh-huh.
on television. So when I showed up as Maestro Manzi, they were all like, "Oh my God, he's Maestro Manzi!" And we had
Oh.
and of course, they were all like, all my students were like, Salvatore, is it going to be a very easy class? I'm like, I don't speak any Italian. So we're going
Uh-huh.
to be like, no, how are you going to do this? Have you
Oh
ever done
my gosh.
ESL? Have you ever taught?
Oh no, no. No, I
It's,
haven't.
it's a fun and very unique experience helping other
Yeah.
people. I learned English, I think, for the first time as I was teaching it. Like I
Oh my
didn't realize,
gosh, I bet. I
what is a
mean,
gerund? What is an adverb?
yeah, I mean, thinking about all of the things that, like, we're taught, right? Taught, I'll put that in quotes loosely, as we're kids. But then as you get older, it's not like you have these repetitive courses or reminder,
Mm.
check-ins on like what tenses and conjugations and protagonists and antagonists and like all these different things about language. I mean, even like when to use a comma, when to not use a comma, like what's the difference between a colon and a semicolon? I mean, I still don't know the answers to many of these things. I'm like just
No, I'm with you. I just like I let the devices figure out how to correct it at this point. I'm still trying
Mhm.
to keep up with all the acronyms that people
Oh
use.
gosh,
It's
acronyms are insane. Even with like how like the kids communicate today, like I'll see something that somebody wrote and I'm like, there's all these little like, yeah.
no
And I'm like,
caps.
oh,
No caps.
yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, no caps. So how long were you doing that in Italy for?
I taught for a year before I moved back, and then I actually moved to San Francisco full time, and I was there. I
Okay.
was in San Francisco for about 15 years
Oh, right on. Okay.
before COVID hit, and
Oh,
then
okay.
I tried out Nevada City. I don't
Hmm.
know what your thoughts about Nevada City, just north of Sacramento.
Well, I mean,
It's
it certainly is a big shift from San Francisco, that's for sure.
it was one of those moments. I have these little moments where like when I lived in Miami, I walked into this guy's apartment during a party and I was like, holy cow. And the guy walks up and he goes, hi, my name is, I'm the host. And I go, oh, hi, I'm your new roommate. He goes,
Yeah.
well, we are looking for a roommate. I'm like, oh, and
Oh my God, how funny.
moved in
Oh
like the
my
next week.
gosh.
So like the same thing happened in Nevada City. I was there and I was like, oh my God, your house is so nice at the fireplace. Like, are you looking for a roommate? He goes, well, actually, yeah. And so I just jumped on the bandwagon, moved into I don't know, maybe the 96th location of my life and
Uh-huh.
tried it out. Winters there are hard. I mean, I want to appreciate the cold weather. I'm just not a cold weather
Yeah.
person. So
I'm with you. I find cold weather very challenging. I mean, unless I know, like, okay, like I spent January in the UK. It was very cold. I mean, most days it wasn't higher than 40 degrees, right? And that's pretty fucking cold. But it was like I knew what I was getting into when I went there in January, right? But were I to live somewhere that's that cold all the time or most of the time or colder. I mean, I have some friends in, Midwest states and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's negative 17." And I'm like, "That does not compute." Like my brain like short circuits trying to decipher what that possibly means. I have no idea.
you have the options. I mean, I lived in New York City during the worst winter of 50 years and
Okay.
it was awful, but there's something about everybody else is going through it that
Right, right.
it feels like okay, like I can't complain. Everybody else is having to deal with this. But
Yeah, yeah.
when like for us who are like we're outside of that, I'm like, why? You don't have to
Mhm.
live there. You could move
Yeah.
like come join
Yeah.
us in California where it's warm.
Yeah.
Very different.
Exactly. I know you can choose.
Yeah. Um, you're in Sacramento right now, right?
Mhm.
And do you think you'll stay there for a while?
Oh no. It's funny because like I did own a home here. I sold it over the summer and that's kind of like what kickstarted my like I mean I've always been traveling. I've been traveling for years now, but it's usually like, a couple weeks or a few weeks at a time here and there and then I got to a point in that towards, halfway through last year and I was like, dude, life is Groundhog's Day. I am bored. And I have not been a big fan of being in California for quite some time, but
Mm.
I also was unclear of where exactly I wanted to go. So I hadn't gone out of the country in almost 2 years, which is very unusual for me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell this house and I'm going to book a one-way ticket and I'm going to see what life has to in store for me. So that got me, I was gone for almost 3 months, came back for the holidays. And then I was in the UK in January, came back for February and then left for Mexico and then just came back the other day. So Yeah. So no, Sacramento, the reason I come back here is twofold. One, I moved the stuff that I did keep into my brother's house.
Yeah.
So I have like, my clothes and my bed here. And
You
then
have
my
a bed.
dog. Yes, I
Yes.
have a
Oh, and
bed. It's
you have
wonderful.
a dog?
I do have a dog, yes. And I share
Oh,
him with my ex-husband, and we have a great relationship. And I mean, our dog now is probably 16, maybe 15 and a half. I got him at a shelter in 2010. So we always
thank
say that
you.
that's like his 1 year anniversary. That he was one when I got him. So that the day that I got him is his birthday. So yeah, so this November we'll have had him for 15 years. So we think
Wow.
he's probably 15 and a half, but he could already be 16 for all we know. And he's asleep behind me. He's like a
Aw.
little champ. Yeah. He's
Love
pretty
dogs.
lazy, but he's still like it has, a daily spurt of energy for his age. And I took him to the vet right before and I left for Mexico. And the vet said that he was the best looking 15-year-old she'd seen in months. And I was like, yeah. So
Right on. Right on.
yeah.
Well, that adds another element, having an animal. But I'm
Yeah,
curious, like, in
definitely.
today's climate, with so much uncertainty going on
Mm-hmm.
in our nation, in the world, and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff, remaining nomadic is,
Mm-hmm.
I think, even more like cutting edge, risky, like edgy
Mm.
kind of thing. Like, how is it influencing you? Do you feel inspired to travel more with what's going on, or do you feel more like putting down roots and like staying stable until this blows over?
I mean, great question. I mean, because obviously, like, yes, there's a ton going on in the world. There's a ton that is just constant chatter, right? If you will. And I don't really let that drive my decision making. It's more of, I think that we're in this incredible time to be alive where there are so many different ways to make money. We're so connected, right? Like we can be on this type of FaceTime call with people from literally all over the world at a
Yeah.
moment's notice.
Yeah.
And there's just like so many more people, I feel like, out and about because of those two things,
Yeah.
that it's very inspiring for me.
Nice.
And I mean, certainly, yes, there are definitely some things that have gone on and that are still going on that are challenging, I guess, if you will. But I try to focus on what I can control. And the only thing I can control is me right here, right now. And so
Nice.
traveling and being out in the world brings me such a sense of joy and
Same.
purpose. And I love meeting new people and having conversations with them. Like I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with this man in Mexico. I just randomly went into this cafe and he was working there. And, I ordered some breakfast and I ordered a juice and we got to talking and he had really, really good English. And he had said like, oh, where are you from? And I told him, California. I spend my time when I'm in the US between California and Arizona. And he said, I just came back here from 10 months in Oregon. And I said, oh, really? I said, where in Oregon? And he told me where he had been, which are a couple of small towns that, he was like, have you heard of those? And I was like, yeah, I actually have. And what was so interesting was his perspective, right? Because one thing that you and me will never have is we will never be able to experience America as a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're born and raised here, right? Even with all of our travels, and we'll never be able to experience it as a foreigner. So hearing his perspective on all of the things that he really loved, but also all of the things that just blew his mind, even things that he found himself doing as a result of being here. And he was like, I never would have done that before. Like one of the things he talked about was that America is a very much culture of consumption. And he was like, he's like, I bought some tools. He was like, I've never needed to own tools. He was like a chef by trade, right? So he's like, I've needed to own kitchen stuff, but I've never needed tools. If I need something to get fixed, I have somebody fix it for me, but I didn't need to own tools. He's like, I ended up spending $1,000 on some tools. And he was like, that could have bought me a plane ticket to Spain. And just like the way he kind of like compared the money that he spent for something that he used so little, but that he was like influenced by living where he was living, and then realizing after the fact that he in fact didn't need it, and that what he could have done with that money instead, it was just so like profound to me. And so it was funny, I went back to the cafe on my last day there because I was like, I really want to have this guy on my podcast, and he was no longer working there. So, but they were kind enough to give me his phone number. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but he did. And so I sent him the link to be able to like check out the podcast on, whatever worked for him. And he was like, you're the second person that's asked for me to tell my story. And I said, okay. And he said, well, one of them wanted me to get on stage and do it. So it made me uncomfortable, made me nervous. And I said, okay. I said, well, just so you know, I said, being on a podcast, I said, especially the way I do mine, because everything is remote, I said, it would just be like being on a FaceTime call. I said, so think about it. The offer stands, listen to some episodes, see how I do things. And if you'd like to do it, let me know. So we'll see. I hope he
and
wants
if you'd
to
like to meet me in Spain and do it there, we can do that.
Right? I know, right? I was like, okay.
I can do this.
So, yeah. So I want to go back to one thing though. What do you ultimately think caused your wanderlust?
I was a square peg in a round hole in Kansas, and I needed to find a place where I belonged. Okay. And so I was looking for that place where I didn't feel like I didn't belong. And I grew up in Kansas as a gay boy in a very religious, conservative state. I needed to get outside of that comfort zone to find a community that I would feel like I could be myself.
Sure.
And so the real pivot came, I don't know if I've shared this before with you in another conversation, but I was in Paris. I got locked out of my youth hostel because I didn't get back by midnight, whatever. And so I spent the night wandering around the Ile Saint Louis, which is that little island in the middle of the Seine.
Okay.
And
I've actually never been to Paris. France of all the places I've been, France is one that I've not been yet, but it's very high on my list.
You got to get to Paris. It is everything that they say, it's hard to, I'm not even trying to put a footnote on whatever all the things, but it was, 12 to 4 a.m. I'm like, what am I going to do? Wander the street. So I wandered this island thinking this would be the safe place to, Catherine Deneuve has a house there. It's got to be safe. And so I'm wandering the island and I come around and I see the full moon reflected off the river underneath the Notre Dame. And it hits me. Like, I keep looking for comfort and belonging out there because I don't feel comfortable, but it's all a reflection. This is all a reflection of what's really going on inside of me. And it was at that moment I pivoted and started working on my own, like accepting myself, accepting the parts of me I didn't want to accept, accepting the parts of me that I didn't think were pretty, accepting the parts of me that I thought made me an imposter. And I started like just loving myself. And then the world opened up differently for me. Yeah. I started seeing the world in a different way because I was seeing a reflection of the love I had for myself. And I started getting that sense of belonging. It's not a sugarcoat. I can't love myself into finding peace within certain parts of America, even. Like, it's just not safe. But like, there's a different sense of belonging that came after I started doing my own work and jumping into that bandwagon. So. Yeah.
That's like such a beautiful moment of like an aha moment where you could stop and go, wait, like maybe everything that I'm looking for is actually already inside me. Right. But I just have to like figure it all out.
Yeah. I'm from Kansas. It's the typical, like, click your heels and go home. Everything you've ever wanted is right here. You just have to like look within, click your heels, and know that there's no place like home. Yeah. And you will find your home wherever you go.
That's amazing. I love that. So right now, what does life look like for you aside from still kind of being a digital nomad? What do you do?
I'm a communications coach for work. As a digital nomad and communication coach, I help people overcome their fear of public speaking so that they can go in front of big stages, or they could go speak in front of their board or talk in front of the media, whatever they need to do. And it's mostly digital. So I'm working with people helping them prepare for those moments in the spotlight and how they're going to shine.
That's so exciting to think that you kind of started off like with so much coffee and then travel tours. And then that got you to like, how did you make the pivot into this?
The through line, well, first of all, communication has always been culture and communication. That's what it's all been about. Like, I was searching for a culture that I fit in, and then realized this culture is something that is created and can be created. And working with so many teams around organizational behavior and how to it started leading to that with communication. Yeah. It's all about how you show up authentically and communicate your purpose and your place in the world and bring the two together. And it's the confluence of where I am: leadership, communication, collaboration, helping teams create like more inclusive spaces so they can become more high performing as a nomadic.com. Like, I feel blessed in having been to so many different cultures.
Yeah.
I've learned natural skills for adjusting to somebody else's cultural cues, creating space for them, helping them feel safe to be themselves in that space, which allows the true them to start coming out and like working on. And because honestly, when the person gets up on a stage to give a presentation, there's a spotlight, and there needs to be that sense of like self-awareness, self-comfort, acceptance, so that I can be seen. And especially like what I have to say has meaning and importance, listens to me. So helping people find that place in themselves, it's a natural evolution.
That's so cool. I love this. What a fun story. So what do you envision for yourself over the next, I don't know, let's just say 6 months, given, or 2025, given that, you know, I know, I mean, I'm the same way. Like one of my friends, she was like, oh, so what's next? And I'm like, I can get you like a month out what I think is happening, but like, I don't know.
Well, I am currently booked out through September 1st right now.
Okay, there we go.
I've got plans. I'm going to be in Europe for a little while.
Nice.
All over, going back to Mexico. I don't know after that. There's a part of me that wants to try. They have these, it's apartments that you can rent for like a short-term stay, like Furnished Finder, furnishedfinder.com. You can get a furnished
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So I think I might try actually being in one place for, I don't know, a couple of months and see what happens. Like, it's hard for me to say because I so enjoy being able to go to, like, I'm going to go down to Thousand Oaks after this and visit with friends I haven't seen in years. Wow, so I'll get to hang out with them and then I'm going to go back to Nevada City and get to see friends I haven't seen. You know, it's like this lifestyle is kind of addicting. So I don't know if I'm ever really going to stop, but I'm going to continue doing this for a while. I'm going to continue doing my communication work. Yeah. We'll see where it leads.
That's so exciting. I love it. And I totally understand what you mean. It's just that pull. And I think that once you've kind of let go and you're like, okay, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to try this place and I'm going to visit this city and I'm going to explore here, explore there. It makes it so easy to just kind of get settled in when you do land somewhere. I mean, even when I just went down to Mexico, it was kind of like, okay, like I went, you know, after a few days of exploring, I kind of knew, okay, it was like I was there for 4 days and then one of my friends came for 4 days and then I had another 10 days or so. I wasn't exactly sure how much longer I was going to stay. But like during that first 4 days, I really explored all around, kind of figured things out. Then the second 4 days, I was really with her. It was just more like touristy type stuff, although I did have some work that I had to do on a couple of the days. But then by the time she left, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to get a spot here and like I'm going to join this gym and like this is where I'm going to go get the grocery store. You know, like you just kind of figure these things out and it becomes easier. But I also think too, and I'm sure that you will nod your head and agree with me here, that when you are out, it's like you realize how little you really need to just live, right?
So like, it's simple is best. Simple is best. Like,
I'm like, I need my computer, my phone. Now, I mean, with podcasting, a microphone and just like some clothes. And I'm like, I'm good. You know, it's like, I don't need all of the stuff that I had when I owned my house and had it, you know, fully furnished and decorated and beautiful and all those things. So it's a nice realization.
It's nice to let go of this stuff too. It's hard. Like we get emotionally attached to these anchor points in our life, but man, is it freeing to let go of that? Yeah. And move back into flow again. Like to me, it's the universe can't fill a full cup, right? So I need to make sure that I have space like for the universe to bring in those kismic moments of like, oh, I'm going to move into this house or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like you, like just being in two cool places and being like, hey, do you need a roommate? And then them both being like, yeah, we do actually. Yeah. That's so cool. I love it. Well, how can people find you if they want to like follow your adventures or learn more about your story?
The easiest way would probably be on LinkedIn, salvatoremanzi.com. Salvatoremanzi.com is my website, but LinkedIn is probably the best way to actually create ongoing conversations. Awesome. I'm not on any of the socials. I know I should be, but
I feel like you have such a beautiful story that you need to document it somehow. Maybe you need to write a book. Have you thought about that? Yeah. Perfect. Good. Well, Salvatore, thank you so much for being here and for this great conversation. This was so much fun. Yeah. And I'm just so glad that now you're a part of my world.
Thank you. It's been fun. And I look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and everybody who has been listening or watching, thank you so much for being here. And please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of those good things. And we will see you next week. Bye.